Hello everyone, welcome to the channel, welcome to this new video. Here what we have today is a rendering video, and I'm going to do some commentary on this to see if I can shine some light into some of my decisions that I make as I'm rendering this. Also some ideas for my explaining a little bit my process. And yes, please comment, leave comments below if you prefer the commentary or if you just prefer watching the videos with the music. I'm not too sure which one is the preferred choice, but yeah, just to whatever help you guys enjoy these videos a bit more. But yeah, see what I'm doing right now is I'm doing the initial layering of my rendering, and yes, if you can see on the helmet, I've marked with a pencil like the areas that I believe should be in some kind of shadow, in some kind of dark area. So I'm going through these initial feathering lines first, just to lay it out and see what it looks like, and then I'm going to go back over according to what I believe could be needed and used, and then lay some more rendering lines over that. And yes, and in this video you're going to see me render the entire helmet, which is about a 30-minute process. Not that I planned it that way, it was just the way that it worked out as I was drawing this. And yes, this is a character called Sorn. He's a character that's going to appear in the comic Rokan from Benjamin Jackson and Max Headshroom. I'll leave their links to all the social media in the description below. But they're working on this comic called Rokan, which is a fantasy. Something right up my alley because I'm also working on the fantasy comic too. And so I was looking through the characters that they're planning to put in the book, and this one popped out to me because I really dig the design of the armor and stuff that I thought would be really cool to render. So yeah, I'm going to start rendering. And as you can see, I'm picked up a micron. Micron is a bit finer line, and I'm going over the helmet once again. The reason why I'm doing this is because I want this helmet to match the rendering that I did on his armor. And if you can see on the armor, he's got these, I put these lines all across it from the previous video. So I want to match that same effect in this video with this part of the helmet. And so yeah, that's why I went with these thinner lines, and it put me in a bit of a pickle because I wanted to find out. I just wanted to do something subtle, but not to make the mask area too dark with too many hatching lines. But I think it worked out pretty nicely, and so yeah, here I am going over the rendering lines here. And yes, I took the same approach for this as I did with the previous video for the Fall of Man pinup, where I was rendering the building. So I do this in layers and just flick as I get through them. Nothing. It's a bit meticulous, but I like the effect it has, and I think it looks really cool. Now I will do this, and then after I'm done with it, I'll step back, take a look at it, see if it looks good, and then continue working on it and adding where I think shadows should go. All shadows are not made equally. Some need to be darker, some need to be lighter, some need to help form the shape of the figure. So I'll go back and readjust as it's needed. I figured I need a little bit more there. I'm planning on doing also a rendering video to explain my thought process behind rendering and how I approach rendering. I've learned a lot in the last couple of years about rendering, and I mean the conclusion is that it all serves to bring out the shape of the form of the thing that you're drawing. But yeah, I'm really interested into like getting into that and to explain to you guys what I learned from that process of rendering. So hopefully I can get that video out to you soon. And then also take a look at some different styles of rendering, because yeah, there is no one way to render. I mean, rendering is unique to every artist, and but the conclusion is that it's got to help form the shape of the object that you're drawing. So anything that works in favor of that, I think is acceptable. I think I'm getting echoes from the neighbors. But yeah, so initially on the actual helmet, I left these the micron lines as it works. That was originally the plan, to leave it like that. And so now I'm jumping to the top part of the helmet, which has a shine to it. So it has a different approach for rendering than the actual face plate. And so I'm doing the blacks first. I'm highlighting the areas that I think need to be done in all black, and then the contours also. Like the blacks and the contours are normally the first thing I jump on, and when I start inking, and then from there I can render. Sometimes I'll work the opposite and I'll render first and then I'll do the contours, but it's on a case by case basis. Just depends on how I feel. Yeah, I had to convince myself that I would have to do that by hand, because I normally pull out that French curve tool for those kinds of curves, but it came out pretty nice. I just went with it. Sometimes when you're in the flow, you just gotta go with it, man. Yeah, here we are. Yeah, this personally is my favorite part of the art process. Inking this and do this rendering stuff. I have a lot of fun doing the rendering. I enjoy it. Oh yeah, here I'm using my Tombow eraser. It's a really I'm erasing the lines that I had what I had placed down earlier that indicated the shadows. I'm erasing that. Yeah. So that on this piece, all you have is nothing but inks. Nothing but inks. I erase all the pencils on all my drawings. I don't want to have any stray marks with the pencils, so I just make sure I get rid of all of them and then go all in with the inks. Yeah. I've noticed that those small, quick gestures, it works a lot. Like, it's something that helps out a lot when you're rendering. Like those small, quick gestures, those small, quick flicks, they really bring a lot to the art. And I recommend to practice on that, just to do something where you're comfortable, because the flicks, those small flicks, give it a nice natural feel to it, and it comes out on the page also. So I recommend that. I'm using these hatch lines, these cross hatch lines, to help indicate the shape, to help form the shape, so you can see what a nice solid shape on that helmet. Bring out the jaw lines and show a little bit of depth to those areas of the helmet. And yeah, inking is definitely an art of its own. It's much different from drawing. There's some things that are done differently, and then you also have to learn or relearn how to draw lines. And I've noticed that flicking, making rapid movements is it's something that helps to not lose that motion that you think is there when you're using pencils. I've had this problem many times, and I think to some extent I have it now, where I'll do a drawing with pencils and it'll come out really great. It'll have a lot of energy and a feel to it, but then when I start inking to it, it just dies out. All the energy just leaves. And I think these quick, rapid movements when you're inking, these quick lines that you make, I think helps to not lose that energy so much. So I always recommend to try to flick, try to make some rapid movements with your micron or with your crow quill or brush. Just a recommendation, and also just to where you are comfortable with it. Don't pressure, don't force it in some cases, because when you force a line, that also comes out on the page. You can tell when the line was there by naturally, and you can tell when the line was there by through a forced motion, and it's not good. So yeah, I put those lines there just to add a little bit of funk, a little bit of weather texture to the mask, to the helmet, and yeah, I like how it looks, and I'm not too keen, or I remember when I was looking back on it, I wasn't too keen on that big white area in the middle of the mask. So I made the decision at the end to just go over it again and hatch some more. But I was playing with it because I don't want to have too many white areas like that open. At least not for this piece, because this piece really lends itself to the interpretation of the armor and the mask. So yeah, here I'm rendering the side of these horns. It's got some dope horns there. Apologize for the background noise. If you guys haven't guessed yet, I live in an apartment building. So there's neighbors above me, beside me, below me, and we all hear each other. And so then I go putting in some lines, extra lines. And there I go putting down some more lines, just to add some more shadows there. Some more funk. I have to call those lines funks, just those dots and lines, broken lines and dots, help add to the grit of a lot of things. And yeah, I used and here I go back with the mechanical pencil, or the pencil that I use. And I wanted to see what it would look like if I were to add some more lines in that area, see how much it would either add or take away from the helmet in general. So I just do that and I take a look at it, and it looks pretty good. I just play with it, try not to get into the inked areas because when I erase it, I don't want to touch the inks that I've already laid down, because I don't want to lift any of that stuff up. So I like it. I erase the pencils, and then I'll say, okay, I'll put a layer here. And we'll see how that works. And then you'll see how I lay this down for you. Make sure I get all the pencil marks off that. So there I go. Flicks, flicks, flicks. I'll make the flick in this motion because this is what I'm comfortable doing. I've seen other artists pull off the exact same effect, but in the opposite direction, when they go from almost no pressure to a lot of pressure, and it baffles me how they do it. But if that works for them, then yeah, great. Whatever works for you, whatever's more comfortable for you, as long as you get the effect that you want, then yeah, it doesn't matter how you get there, but as long as you get there, you know? So yeah, so I inked that area and I liked it. I left it and thought it looked pretty cool. And then I continued with the other horn. And there I'm putting down the first layer again of feathering lines, rendering lines. I call it feathering. I think it's probably an older term, but feathering is those lines that go from thick to thin. I'll be sure to talk about all that stuff whenever I do get around to that rendering video. For those that may not know, but those who know, then you know what I'm talking about. And then yeah, if you have any questions about anything, like how do I approach this or how do I approach that, then yeah, please be sure to leave those questions in the comments below, and then I'll answer anything I can. And yeah, feedback works great for me also. Not just in terms of the art, but like in terms of these videos. If there's things that you'd like to see or things that you think I probably missed explaining, then yeah, go ahead, be my guest and let me know. Yeah, so the piece is coming out pretty good so far. No, it's coming out real great. yeah, normally my process for doing any piece is a little unorthodox, because I've seen other artists that go all out on the rendering in the pencil stage, and I completely get it if you are not inking your own stuff, but I ink all of my own work because I can't afford to send it to an inker, so I ink all my own work, and I learned myself how to ink the best I can. And so like when I'm doing a piece, I work in steps. Like I want to have the lines down first, like the actual line art, and then over that line art is where I render. And so normally when I show my pencils to a customer, so to someone who's commissioned me a piece, I'll just show them the lines. It doesn't look too impressive at all. Like I'll look at it, it's like, this doesn't look impressive at all, but I know when I get down to inking, like that's where I go all in and put in all the details and all that good stuff that I like and that people like. So it's really difficult to see what my actual art is going to end up looking like just by looking at my pencils. So yeah, it's interesting. And also to save time, because imagine doing the line work, doing the rendering in pencils, and then going back to do the line work, and then going back to doing the rendering again. And then I'm always left with that question: is what do you do with the pencils? Do you just keep it on there? Do you keep it, or do you erase it? That's always been my question, and I always ask myself that all the time, because after you erase, I mean, the ink, I don't know, maybe it's, but I get the impression that all inks get lifted up off the page, regardless of how you erase it. I believe that some of it always gets lifted up. And so how do you go about, keeping it nice and completely black? So that's always the question that I have. But here I'm doing the black areas on the helmet. I finished the faceplate area. So now I'm working on rendering the helmet, and the helmet's shinier, so it has a different approach to it. You have to keep in mind where the light source is coming from, and in this case, it's coming from the light source. The light is shining from right to left, so it's shining on the right side of the helmet. So that means that on the left side of the helmet, it should be dark. So I have to keep that in mind and just try my best to figure out, I guess, where these lines would go. And yeah, sometimes sometimes I get it really good, sometimes I don't. And it's okay, it's all part of the learning process. But I'm having fun. I'm enjoying all this. And I've noticed that I've been getting a lot more comfortable drawing in front of a camera versus when I first started doing it earlier. I was nervous, and that nervousness would I don't know if it actually did get to influence the lines that I did when I was drawing before, but right now I feel comfortable. I feel like I can draw like I normally would draw in front of a camera and not let the camera freak me out so much. But before, yeah, I felt nervous, like, and I don't know if that ever did go over to the page, but yeah. So there's the helmet. It's looking pretty good, I think, in my opinion. Looks nice. I have to continue rendering this top part. The Roman soldier influence. And so here I'm starting with the blacks, marking out the area where I think the blacks should be, the heavy shadows, which of course will be right under that lip of the helmet piece. So yeah, just small baby steps. I'm putting some feathering lines all up and down this, just to give some texture, some wear and tear, some feel. So you can see, for example, like my actual line work before I ink it is really thin, and then once I go over it, I get a little bit thicker with it. That's that finished ink look that I give it. Now here I'm drawing bristles, and here I believe this is what this material will be. So I'm like just flicking it outwards, making it look hairish, like hair in essence. And then marking off areas that should be darker. And then you'll see how I go back and forth, up and down, doing the hairs on that. And see, look, I get so comfortable drawing that I forget to focus the camera. It happens to me a lot. I've seen some of my videos back before you keep forgetting to refocus the camera. Yeah. And here I am. What's going on in here areas? Spreading it out first, and then after I spread it out all across this area, then I'll go back and see where I can add more or just leave it as it is. That's how I did it in one direction, and I have to do it in the other. And then I'm doing the contour. And the contour is necessary to help. In my opinion, I may be wrong. Maybe somebody can correct me on this. I do the contour lines like that so the person, whoever the viewer is looking at the artwork, they can still distinguish where this area of the drawing still is. Like in this case, distinguish that this is the top part of the helmet, the bottom part of the helmet, the horns, the faceplate. Because if I leave it just rendering lines, then it could get lost in translation. Like you could just look at the rendering lines and then it blends into another area, and then you don't know where this area begins. Like you don't know where the sword ends, where the armor begins, where the arm begins, where the hand is at. So the contour lines really help with that. And then that's also where you go into line weights. You want to have some things pop out more than the others, so you give it a thicker black line to it. And yeah, so obviously things that are, I've said it before, things that are further back into the drawing, like in the background, should have thinner lines, and things that are closer to the viewer's eye should have thicker black lines. And so if you want to help distinguish, like if this area of the arm is closer to the viewer than the helmet, or closer to the viewer than the shield, then in that case you should use a thicker line on that arm, or whatever it is that you want to bring closer to the camera. So we doing the contours just helped me to, number one, distinguish the shape, and then number two, also help with depth if it's needed in that case. And here I'm going over these bristles. I'm noticing that as I'm putting more lines towards that front area of the mask, that I have to do the same thing on the back. So then I go to the back and then try to even things out, balance it out, so that you don't have a lot of lines on one side without that same number of lines on the other. So I try to make try to make everything even and balanced out. So there I go, doing that. Completely caught up in the drawing and ignoring the fact that I'm not focusing the camera. I'm really sorry about that, guys. And yeah, once again, this character's name is Sorn. He's going to appear in the comic Rokan, which is coming out soon, hopefully. I've seen some pages from Max Headshroom, and he's doing some great work. He paints he's painting the pages, and his art is just amazing. And yeah, we're both fans of fantasy, and yeah, it was a real pleasure being able to tackle one of the characters from the Rokan comic. And yeah, this is a unique piece on its own because I was able to draw the entire character on an 11x17 board. And normally those kinds of boards give me room to draw many characters, but for this one I decided to just draw one character and really, make them big on the page and then go all out on the details. It was a really cool experience. And yeah, so this has been my commentary video drawing Sorn from the Rokan comic. Be sure to like and subscribe to the video, share it out, please also. And I will catch you on the next one. I have another video for this character, and then I'll see you guys in another video later on. Thank you very much. I appreciate you hanging out, and let me know what you think about the commentary, if you like it over the music, and all that good stuff. Take care. Have a great day.